Is Elon Musk's 20-year secret hurting his success? Hey there, if you're tuning in right now, I wonder what brought you here. Perhaps you picture high achievers as flawless machines of discipline, free from inner demons. Or maybe you believe that wealth and triumphs erase the urge for escapist habits. Could be that you're hiding your own private battles, ones you'd rather not face. This talk is meant for you. Let me open up about a compulsion that's shadowed me for more than 2 decades. It's not your typical vice, no drugs, no reckless actions that scream danger. On the surface, it's something society praises as noble, even inspiring. It's fueled my ventures into groundbreaking industries and cracked open tough puzzles, yet it's quietly eroded chunks of my existence that I'm only starting to grasp. This habit has drained my connections with others, robbed me of restful nights, shattered my calm, and kept me from truly savoring life's key moments. It's propelled me toward feats that defy odds, but left me unable to bask in the glow of victory once they're done. Today, I'm laying it bare, not for criticism, but because I suspect countless go-getters wrestle with a similar drive, mistaking it for mere zeal or grit. Spotting this as a true dependency has shown me why triumphs can ring empty, why no milestone ever feels sufficient, and why top performers often simmer with unease and discontent beneath their polished exteriors. My secret? An unrelenting fixation on conquering obstacles, not the easy ones, but the thorniest, most intricate riddles that stump everyone else. The kind deemed unsolvable by pros, demanding endless toil with slim odds of payoff. At first glance, this sounds like a superpower, and in many respects, it is. It's what pushed me to pioneer electric cars when skeptics swore they'd flop in the market, to launch a rocket firm when doubters claimed startups couldn't rival government giants, to chase ventures that looked like pipe dreams but proved merely grueling. Yet, like any obsession, it's hijacked my world in subtle, insidious ways I overlooked for years. I can't quit hunting for the subsequent hurdle, the tougher quest, the loftier dream. The instant I chip away at one issue, my radar scans for something steeper. I've never paused to revel in a win or soak in the fulfillment of a real breakthrough. Each triumph morphs into a launch pad for grander schemes. Every cracked code uncovers a dozen more crises that feel pressing and vital. This urge has steered my every big choice over the last 20 years. Take the PayPal sale, it handed me riches beyond imagination. Most folks would have savored the stability, jetted off for fun, dove into passions, bonded with loved ones, or parked funds in steady investments. Me? I funneled it all into outfits tackling colossal, impossible feats, eco-friendly mobility and cosmic travel. I convinced myself it was for global good, and sure, that played a role. But deep down, it was the thrill of diving into epic battles that hooked me. I craved dilemmas vast and demanding enough to monopolize my thoughts and deliver that laser-sharp immersion I'd grown reliant on. The cycle spins on relentlessly. Once Tesla and SpaceX showed promise, I dove into Neuralink for mind-machine links. That kicked off, so next came the Boring Company for underground transit. Projects rolling. I snapped up Twitter to fix online discourse flaws. Each launch, I framed it as tackling humanity's core woes, valid, in part. But really, I was pursuing that adrenaline spike of bootstrapping the improbable against all expert advice. The real damage isn't just the time and stamina it devours. It's how it blocks any sense of contentment from wins or progress. There's perpetually another puzzle lurking, another trial eclipsing the joy of what's done. Vacations? They're half spent mentally wrestling job snags. Chats with pals or kin. My focus splits, drifting to tech knots or strategy calls. Movies, books, downtime pursuits. They feel like squandered hours better used on vital tasks. Even at family bashes or meetups, I'm there in body but divided in spirit, tangled in some riddle. This mental tug-of-war has strained my bonds more than I knew. Loved ones have long noted my absent vibe in talks, how I'm not all in during our time, how they vie with my career for scraps of me. I brushed it off, figuring I juggled well, pondering deadlines while chatting. Truth is, that's a lie I told myself. Real connection demands your whole self. You can't forge it when your head's split between people and plots. It steals joy from everyday wonders too, the melodies of tunes, the depth of paintings, the serenity of landscapes, unless they tie to a fixable flaw. My global jaunts? Recalled more for the business huddles squeezed in than the vistas. Epic gatherings, intriguing encounters. Blurred by whatever deadline loomed. Worst of all, it's chipped away at my ties with my kids. I adore them fiercely and yearn to show up fully, but silencing the solver in me is a fight. Amid playtime or story sharing, when they're sharing school tales or needing guidance or just my company, my brain multitasks on some engineering snag or deal. I catch their words, but I'm not locked in, I'm elsewhere. I've forfeited irreplaceable slices of their youth, not by skipping out, but by zoning out, lost in labors that promise world-altering wins. They've adapted to battling my ambitions for my gaze, and too frequently, ambition prevails. This hits like a gut punch. Kids' years fly by, and those overlooked instants are gone forever. They'll recall if I was all there for their milestones, not if I was blueprinting futures. Romantic ties suffer similarly. Dates feel like partnering with a ghost, someone perpetually half gone, prioritizing puzzles over partnership. I've defended it. The missions matter, could uplift masses, safeguard our species. But that's dodging the truth. Importance isn't the fight, it's my failure to cap the mental bleed. Off-duty? Still scheming. Meant to unwind or cherish others? still entangled. This solver mode is so wired in, I barely recall a quiet mind, or how to dwell in now without plotting ahead. The loop self-perpetuates viciously. Winds validate chasing wilder beasts. Accolades for boldness amp the itch. But I'm seeing it's a dead-end path. You can't nurture deep links or claim enduring peace if you're forever future-bound in fixes. And ironically, it hampers my problem-cracking prowess. Leaping between quest skips, digesting past wisdom. Fixating on horizons ignores mining current gold. The overload fogs clarity, starving singular deep dives that spark genius. Lately, I'm experimenting with fences, carving out, no work, pockets for undivided family focus or pure living, sans tweaks. It's brutal for a lifetime hunter, spotting drifts and yanking back takes grit. I'm testing recharge lulls, letting my noggin idle guilt-free. It stings as idle at first, but rebounds bring sharper insights. Key shift, savoring closed chapters, not barreling to the next. Lingering on my firm's milestones as ends in themselves, not mere ramps. Reminding myself, solving isn't just the eureka buzz, it's deploying fixes to transform lives. That demands stewardship, rolling out, tweaking, expanding, not lone genius sprints. It calls for steady presence over flash breakthroughs. I'm grasping, too, that life's prime knots aren't for algorithms or gadgets. Bonds, inner harmony, heart matters, soul work, they thrive on patience, not puzzles. No tidy fixes via smarts, they need sustained care, embracing the gray over engineering it away. Taming this means ditching the hunt for tech trophies, honoring that some joys are for feeling, not finessing, for being, not bettering. This isn't quitting big bets or world shapers. It's recalibrating to a balanced dance with challenges, not letting them swallow me. Picking battles wisely, not hoarding them. Honoring my limits as precious fuel, not flinging it wide. Above all, prioritizing the heart's work, connections needing my all, not sporadic sparks. This drive birthed feats I'm grateful for, hopefully rippling good. But it's exacted a toll in lost intimacies, mindfulness, and quiet wins no career peak can reclaim. If this mirrors you, endlessly chasing the horizon, goals gobbling your now, hear this, balance is reachable. Tackle worthy fights without them owning you. Chase bold visions sans forfeiting your real world. Thrive driven, yet free from the solver's grip. Pass this along to a striver who might see their hustle as a hidden chain. Hit subscribe if unpacking ambition's shadow sharpens your view. And hold this, what if easing the fix-it frenzy freed space to immerse in your bonds and nows, unhurried? But here's a truth that few are willing to admit. Success doesn't always free you from struggles, sometimes it hides them. And if you've ever carried a private habit or compulsion that you barely understand yourself, this story will feel uncomfortably familiar. I want to talk about an addiction I've been carrying for more than 2 decades. It's not the type of addiction that headlines are made of. It's not about substances or the obvious vices that destroy lives. In fact, most people would see it as admirable, maybe even inspiring. They might call it dedication. But like many addictions, it has taken a quiet toll on my relationships, my peace of mind, and my ability to be present in the moments that matter most. This is the side of success that no one warns you about. The drive that builds companies, changes industries, and even reshapes humanity's future, can also hollow out the very life it's meant to improve. My addiction isn't to fame, wealth, or recognition. I'm addicted to solving problems. But not just any problems. I am drawn to the most difficult, complex, almost impossible problems I can find, the ones experts declare unsolvable, the ones most people walk away from because they seem too risky or too big. On the surface, that sounds like a gift. And in many ways, it has been. This very compulsion pushed me to focus on electric cars at a time when they were dismissed as unworkable. It fueled the creation of SpaceX, when everyone said private companies could never launch rockets that rivaled NASA. It drove me to pour myself into brain-machine interfaces at Neuralink, underground transportation tunnels at the Boring Company, and eventually into reshaping the conversation about social media with the acquisition of Twitter. But that drive, that hunger for the next big, nearly impossible challenge, has also consumed me. Whenever a problem is solved, I don't stop to celebrate or even breathe. I immediately feel compelled to find the next mountain to climb, the next barrier to break, the next puzzle that promises sleepless nights and endless work. I thought this was ambition. But it's something deeper and, in many ways, darker, the inability to rest. When PayPal was acquired and I suddenly had more money than I'd ever dreamed of, I didn't take a breath. I didn't slow down. I didn't use that time to connect more with family, to build memories, or even to explore personal passions. I went straight back into the fire, investing nearly everything into electric vehicles and space exploration, 2 problems that most experts said were destined to fail. At the time, I told myself it was about impact, about trying to do something meaningful for humanity. That was partly true. But it was also about chasing the rush of going up against the impossible. I had become dependent on that rush. The bigger and more daunting the problem, the more it drew me in. The cost of that addiction is not just measured in lost sleep or missed vacations. It's measured in relationships that quietly frayed. In conversations with friends and family where I was physically present but mentally somewhere else, running numbers, designing solutions, planning the next move. It's measured in moments with my children that slipped away, not because I wasn't there in the room, but because I wasn't truly present. People close to me have said for years that I often seemed distant, that I looked distracted even in moments that should have been intimate or joyful. I brushed that off, telling myself that I could multitask, that I could be with them and still think through complex challenges in the background. But I've come to realize that presence can't be divided. You can't give half of your mind to a loved one and expect them to feel fully seen. The same is true for simple pleasures. I struggle to enjoy music without wondering how it's produced. I've stood in some of the most breathtaking places on earth and remember them only in relation to the work calls I took there. I've met extraordinary people but recall those moments mostly in terms of the technical problems I was wrestling with at the time. This isn't just about personal life. I've begun to see how the addiction has even undermined my work. When your brain is constantly juggling multiple massive challenges, it becomes harder to think deeply about any single one. The constant drive to find new problems means you rarely take the time to integrate lessons from old ones. You move forward, but sometimes without wisdom. Recently, I've been trying to change this pattern. It's not easy. For someone like me, sitting still feels unnatural. But I'm learning to draw boundaries, designating certain times and spaces as problem-free zones, where I focus on being present with family, friends, or simply with myself. I'm trying to practice what I call productive rest, giving my mind permission to do nothing so that it can return to problems later with clarity. The most profound shift I'm working on, however, is this: learning to appreciate the problems that have already been solved. Taking time to actually feel the weight of progress before rushing to the next mission. Remembering that solving a problem isn't the real victory is the positive change it creates in people's lives. And not all of life's challenges can be fixed with engineering. Some of the most important problems, like nurturing relationships, finding fulfillment, or being present for your children, aren't problems in the technical sense at all. They can't be solved with equations or algorithms. They require patience, attention, vulnerability, and the willingness to sit with things as they are. I'm not stepping away from big problems. I still believe that advancing sustainable energy, expanding humanity's reach to other planets, and improving our technologies are crucial. But I'm learning that these missions don't have to consume everything. That it's possible, and necessary, to balance ambition with presence. To remember that time and attention are finite resources, and that scattering them too widely diminishes both their power and their joy. If you see yourself in this story, always chasing the next challenge, never satisfied with what you've already built, I want you to know there's another way. You can still pursue great goals. You can still make an impact. But you don't have to be addicted to the chase. Sometimes, the most meaningful transformation begins not when you conquer the next mountain, but when you finally pause long enough to appreciate the view from where you stand. If this conversation resonates with you, share it with someone who needs to hear that relentless ambition can have hidden costs. Subscribe if you want more honest conversations about the unseen struggles behind success. And above all, remember, some of the most important problems in your life can't be solved. They can only be experienced, cherished, and lived.